Okay, so today we're going deep on budgeting for decentralized clinical trials.
Hmm.
And we've been doing a lot of deep dives on decentralized trials.
Yeah, definitely a hot topic.
But we haven't really gotten into the nuts and bolts of
Right.
how you actually put together a budget for one of these things.
Yeah, and it's really interesting because it's not the same as a
But
traditional trial.
it's not like you just take your old budget and just
Exactly.
move some numbers around.
Yeah, you can't just like copy and paste.
Right.
There are all these new things you got to think about.
So let's talk about that. What are some of the big things that people should be thinking about when they're first starting to put together a budget for a DCT?
I think the first thing is you have to really think about technology costs.
Okay.
In a traditional trial, you've got your site fees and things like that.
Right.
But with the DCT, you've got all these platforms and
Oh,
software.
yeah. All the data collection and stuff.
Exactly. You need systems for telehealth, for remote monitoring, all of that.
And that stuff isn't free.
Right. Like there are licensing fees and integration costs and
Yeah.
sometimes even like ongoing maintenance.
Yeah, I can imagine.
And it's not just about finding the cheapest option either.
Right. It's got to actually work.
Yeah, exactly. It has to be secure. It has to comply with all the regulations.
Mm,
And it has to be easy for both the patients and the research team to actually use.
that's a good point. You're not just thinking about like the bottom line.
Yeah.
You're thinking about how this impacts the whole trial.
Exactly. The patient experience is so important.
So that's technology.
Yeah.
What else? What other big buckets are we talking about here?
Patient outreach and engagement. That's another big one.
Okay. Yeah. How do you reach people when you're not,
Right.
relying on people coming to a site?
Exactly. In a traditional trial, you might just put up flyers in a hospital or something.
Right.
But with a DCT, you have to think about targeted advertising, online content.
Digital marketing, basically.
Exactly. And then how do you keep people engaged throughout the trial?
Yeah, because it's all remote. They could just
Right.
hop off.
Yeah. You need to make sure they have the support they need, even though they're not physically coming to a site.
I imagine that takes a lot of creativity.
It does.
Yeah.
Maybe you offer stipends to cover internet costs
Oh, interesting.
or for like at-home care visits so they don't have to travel.
So it's not just about like the technology. It's about building a whole
Yeah.
system to support this virtual trial.
It's like building a virtual clinic almost.
Yeah, I like that analogy.
And then on top of all that, you've got your premium services,
Oh, okay. What are those?
things like specialized logistics for shipping materials to people's homes.
Oh, right. Because you can't just have them,
Right.
go pick it up.
Exactly. And secure data storage, setting up those systems can be expensive.
Mhm.
And then sometimes you might even need to provide at-home nursing care.
So these are all things that you might not even think about
Yeah.
in a traditional trial.
Exactly. They're unique to DCTs.
Okay, so we've got technology, we've got patient outreach and engagement, we've got these premium services.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else, or does that pretty much cover it?
I think that the other big thing to remember is that with DCTs,
Yeah.
it's not just about setting the initial budget.
Right, because things change.
Exactly. Things come up. You have to be flexible.
Okay, so give me an example.
Yeah.
Like, what kind of unexpected thing might pop up?
Well, imagine your technology platform suddenly needs a security upgrade
Oh, yeah.
mid-trial. Or you find that patients in a certain region are having trouble accessing the internet.
Yeah, it's going to throw a wrench in things.
Exactly. These are the kinds of things you need a contingency plan for.
So it's like packing for a trip
Yes,
where you don't know the destination.
exactly. You might be packing for a beach vacation,
Right.
and then suddenly you're hiking in the mountains.
And you need hiking boots.
Exactly.
You need different gear.
So flexibility is key. You got to be able to adapt as you go. Absolutely. And that's where continuous budget monitoring comes in.
Okay, so you're not just like setting it and forgetting it.
No, you need to be tracking your expenses regularly, comparing them to your projections,
Mhm.
seeing where you might be overspending or where you might need to allocate more funds.
So it's a very dynamic process.
It is. It's not static.
This is all really helpful, I think.
Good.
It's really highlighting how budgeting for a DCT,
Yeah.
it's just a different beast.
It is. It's a whole new way of thinking.
It's not just, like I said before, taking your old budget and moving some numbers around.
Right.
You really have to,
Think differently.
yeah, and understand the nuances
The nuances.
of this new
Yeah.
kind of trial.
Exactly. And I think that as we move towards more and more decentralized trials, it raises another question, which is how can we use technology not just to manage costs,
Okay.
but to make the experience better for patients.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day,
Yeah.
the patients are the ones who are making this whole thing possible.
Exactly. If they're not happy, they're not going to participate.
So we have to think about that too. How do we use technology to make their lives easier
Yeah.
and make them more willing to participate?
Exactly, because that's what's going to make these trials successful.
Well, this has been a really great conversation.
I enjoyed it.
I think we've given people a lot to think about
I hope so.
when it comes to budgeting for DCTs.
Yeah. It's a fascinating and challenging field.
It is. We're just at the beginning of it, too.
Sure.
So who knows what the future holds?
Exactly. We'll have to do another deep dive in a few years and see.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Well, thanks for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
And thanks, everyone, for listening.
Yes. Thanks for listening.